Now, India's space agency has released some amazing footage of the way satellites are put up into space. A record 104 satellites went into orbit on Wednesday. The number broke the previous record that was held by Russia. Now, if we can see these pictures, it only took 30 minutes to eject them from orbit. There we go. The satellites are being rejected from the Indian-owned rocket. Now, there are 104 satellites, as I said, 103 are foreign-owned. One of them will be used by India. They'll be used to map traffic and, of course, keep an eye on the weather. Enjoy these pictures. Your headlines will be up next.
India now has launched 104 satellites on board a single rocket, setting what its space agency calls a new world record. Almost all the satellites are foreign-owned and will serve international customers. It's part of India's plan to gain a bigger chunk of the $300 billion global space industry. Ben Tornquist reports.
2, 1, 0, +1.
A countdown to an historic record. India's PSLV rocket carried 104 satellites into space, along with the pride of millions of Indians. In less than 10 minutes, all 101 foreign-owned satellites were released into space, each travelling at a whopping velocity of 27,000 kilometres per hour, or about 30 times the speed of an average passenger plane. But of the 104 satellites, only 3 are Indian. The chief of the Indian Space Agency says they're not in the game for setting records.
So it's not whether we are crossing somebody else, what they have put or what we have put as a record. It's primarily about improving our capability to maximize our returns.
India sold space for 600 kilos on its rocket for more than $100 million, making it one of the most commercially successful launches ever. The agency's relatively low prices attracted international customers to launch 75 satellites through it last year, cost around 20 to 30% less than the Chinese launched satellites. India is considered new to the multi-billion-dollar satellite launcher market. But with this latest mission, it has surely set an enviable benchmark. India now plans to send a maiden voyage to Venus in a few years. Ben Tornquist, TRT World.
India has successfully put a satellite into orbit around Mars. Despite costing just a tenth of a similar NASA project, scientists have described the mission as flawless. The satellite has launched India into a small club of elite space travellers.
Making it to Mars is a huge achievement for any space agency. And by putting a probe into orbit, the Indians have become part of an elite group of explorers. Not only that, they've also created the world's first no-frills, low-cost space agency. The Prime Minister went on to proudly boast that the film Gravity cost more to make than this mission.
History has been created today. We have dared to reach out into the unknown and have achieved the near impossible.
In its closest orbit, Mars is almost 35 million miles away. But the Mangalyaan probe travelled more than 420 million miles to align with the red planet. It took 300 days but cost just £45 million. Compare that to NASA's latest mission to put a probe in orbit, which cost £409 million.
The Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution mission, MAVEN, will go to work in orbit.
On Monday, MAVEN also successfully reached Mars.
From recent trips to the red planet.
Its mission is to study the atmosphere of the planet, to build a better understanding of current and past climate conditions. NASA and the Indian Space Research Organisation are likely to share data, as Mangalyaan is on a similar mission. And another famous NASA explorer, the Curiosity rover, welcomed India's probe to Mars this morning via Twitter, to which it responded, "Howdy, Mars Curiosity. Keep in touch. I'll be around." Some have criticised the money that the Indian government spends on its space programme, when so many of its 1.2 billion people are poor. The UK still gives the country hundreds of millions of pounds in aid every year. But Delhi argues that success in space will boost India's space industry and make money in the long run. Joe Tidy, Sky News.